Hey, long time no see, guys. How's it going?
What's up? What's up? Cave, I see you in the chat. What's up, bud?
Good
Hey,
good
Cave.
week so far. Yeah. Hey, Kevin.
Everybody patch all the Java stuff. That's some big news.
Um, yeah, AWS has been giving me a lot of issues this week, but we've had two major outages at least.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
I'm,
a
I'm
not
usually
as
making fun of I'm usually making fun of Microsoft and they call it 365, but it's more like 342. And now AWS is doing it. It's
yeah,
kind of
and
ironic.
especially since almost everything we have runs on AWS backbones. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
and most
on.
of the
I'm also on call
conversations.
this week, so
Oh,
it's
Oh
my
boy.
first time being on call, and it's one of those. Hey, when everything blows up, you're the guy. Um, I mean, there's like probably 10 of us because different departments, everybody's, a different person. Um,
Yeah.
Luckily, this blew up at the end of the day. Like, I'd say about two or three. It started getting resolved. Like, it started getting to the point where we're able to resolve it. So I don't have to jump in after work, which is nice. But I do have my phone on me and open on my work page in case something happens. And in that case, I'll just keep the stream running and I will just, that's what this computer right here is for. Shouldn't make any difference, but on
yeah.
that note, how's how has everybody else's work been this week? You guys run into any problems with it?
I didn't because I've been OOO. I'm on
Nice.
vacay. So I only think only downage I had to deal with was I downed a tree. That was fun.
How
By
long you
fun I
got
meant stressful.
till the new year?
Uh, yeah, the third.
Yeah, I thought
So
about
yeah.
doing that as well. Decided against it just because I've only been there a couple months. I'm like, I'll see what Christmas is like around the office time because I know some companies, like the
Mm-hmm.
one we were at, nothing happens during the holidays anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like, all right, doesn't matter if you're gone, you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
So I
It's
figured
supposed to
I'll
be
give this
slow
the first
here.
try.
It's supposed to be slow here over Christmas. I don't have officially have any time in, but I'm gonna try to take a day or two. Hey, thanks, Strenuous Fool. 80
Strenuous,
oh
thank
zero
you.
03.
Thanks for the follow,
Um,
Third
bro.
one's the best one. Soon as full one and two. I don't know about them, but 03 is great.
yeah.
That's like my name.
So
I've been asked, they're like, are there that many O'Grady's? I'm like, that's not why.
No, you just say
yeah,
yes. You're like, oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
sure. We have a whole clan.
So yeah, Lee. So what'd you say? You don't have.
I was saying that I don't have any official vacation in yet. I was trying to take a couple of days next week, but some things have come up that require my attention. So I may not get that time. I might just have the 23rd, uh, 23rd and 24th, Thursday and Friday.
Mhm.
I get a 4-day weekend and it'll be all right. So we'll see. But I did a smart thing as per suggested to me. I went ahead and like looked at 2022 and just put in a bunch of time off requests that were approved already. So now I just have to put them on the calendar so everybody can see it
Nice.
and move things around as the year goes on if I need or want to do that. But
Then comes the
so
hard part: actually turning yourself off during that time.
yeah,
Because
Doesn't
correct me if
happen.
I'm wrong. As a DBA, you kind of always feel like you're on, even if you're not.
yeah. Luckily, there's another DBA. My boss has been a DBA for many years as well, and then there's a third party company. So
Nice.
Ah,
just one of us being off, not a big deal. It should be fine.
Nice.
But it's still a matter of when I don't go go into work,
Yeah.
meaning go over there uh, and
Oh, do you
sign
sit at
actually
on.
sit
that
somewhere
desk.
else? Do you have a separate desk for work?
I do,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
Smart.
smart.
That
I've
is.
heard I've heard a lot of people say it
yeah,
changes things.
Mhm.
it
Don't game in
does.
the same computer you work with. Don't do your personal stuff in the same.
No,
Don't do it.
I
I've
did it for a
told
long time.
I was gonna say I've told people that I play video games with, they're always like, "Why do you play on controller?" And I'm like, "Cause I play on PC, but I play on a controller on my PC, and everybody else
Yep.
plays, or most everybody else that plays PC plays on mouse and keyboard." And I've
Mm-mm.
mentioned, I'm like, I work all day on a mouse and keyboard. When I get off, if I want to play a video game, I want to sit back. I put my chair back like this. I'll just sit here and
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my relaxed time. I don't want
Yeah.
to be at my work computer playing video games.
Yeah. So at my other house that we moved out of last July, um, I just had the office was much smaller. There was only space for one desk, about the size of the one I'm sitting at now, and the PlayStation and the TV were right next to it. So the chair that I worked in all day was the chair that I played video games in, and literally this was it. I'm done with work. Okay, I'm done with work. Okay, now I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. I didn't like it. So
Yeah, that's
separate
fair.
spaces now.
Very fair. I was strenuous
So
was
Lee,
saying that
yeah.
you need to confirm or deny that you might have backed into your son's sports car. Is this something we need to know about? Is this like a
Thank Thanks
Well,
for the
reoccurring
info,
theme? Do we need to watch our cars when we go hang
let
out
me
with
just
Mr.
you? Like,
Fool.
say that my son's sports car. I'm sorry, I'm going to do this, Anthony. You will not get this reference. My son's sports car is the tiny thing hiding behind the pearl. So,
I get the reference. It's Pirates of the Caribbean.
but Anthony hasn't seen those movies.
Our
So, yes, I did
I-
do that. And yes, we do, I'm sure. Um, so his car, he has a Corvette.
Yeah.
It's low to the ground, and I have a Charger, not low to the ground. I'm parked in the drive in the garage, and so I'm level in the garage. And then when you come out of the garage, the driveway goes down like this.
Okay.
He's in the driveway directly behind my large vehicle.
So
I
you
gotta
can
do
Oh,
even
this.
boy.
see it.
The door comes up, and I just, yeah, I did. I creamed it.
So the answer is yes. He confirms it. Okay.
Yes, I can confirm I did that.
That's fine. I was actually similar line of story. I was on the side of 70 last night changing a tire for my wife who
Oh,
Oh.
boy.
did not avoid the potholes on 70.
Hmm.
So it was I was looking, she owns a salon, so we were up there getting haircuts, and I left early because I had a deployment last night, and I'm like, I'll leave early. I left Jesse there, and they went and they were getting their haircuts, and they'd meet me up later. So I'm about home, and get a call from the wife, hysterical, of course, to no fault of hers. I mean, she did just blow a tire on 70. But I'm
Mhm.
like, what's going on? It's like, I'm on the side of 70. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you got in an accident. Like, that sucks. Like, let's figure this out. And she's like, I blew a tire on a pothole. I'm like, okay, that's so much easier to deal with. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
20
it
minutes
did-
of being uncomfortable, and then you're good to go.
yeah. So I went up. I was like 15 minutes away. So I drove back to her, changed the tire, and it destroyed the rim. So that's the
Oh,
only
no.
downside is it may have to be an insurance claim because rims are expensive. But
Yeah, they are.
and it's a lease, so I don't have the option of being like, I'll just throw new rims on it. No.
You gotta let them take care of it.
She's in a Nissan Sentra 2021. Because if it was an older vehicle, you would never get in an accident. So 2021 that you're leasing,
I can certify
blow
that
those
that's not true.
tires.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my interesting bit of the week. But Kevin of Tech, hey, how's it going? I like your name. Seems like it fits very well with what's going on here?
Hey, we know Kevin. How you doing, Kevin?
Yes.
Oh, do
Hey,
you?
Kevin.
Okay. Do I know Kevin?
I don't know,
Or
unless
is he?
only if you
Is it from
attended
your
our
meetup?
from the meetup.
Okay.
I know
Yeah.
you're stuck there, and I see him on LinkedIn all the time. I'm not lurking, I promise.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, all right. Well, we can start jumping into the topics today.
Let's dig in.
So, like the title says, how to ace an IT interview, and we're gonna go over, or I'm gonna go over some basic do's and don'ts of the interview process in general that will apply to all fields. Just good practice, you know. And then I'm gonna get into some of the personal some things that I found to really help me in an interview process. Not just getting the job, but making sure it's the right job, which I think a lot of people forget about. So
You're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you.
yeah. So I'll go over that part as well. Yeah. So feel free to chime in whenever. Obviously, we got as always open platform for not only us three, but also for chat if there's any questions or
Oh yeah, and by the way,
suggestions.
guys, if you're listening in either here or later on in YouTube land, we have a Discord. So feel free to join. We'd love to have some people talking with us throughout the week, giving us ideas, telling us why we're wrong
Mm-hmm.
or why Grady's right. I don't know. So join
Never
us.
happens. Never happens. All right, do I have? Just getting my page pulled up here to make sure I'm not
Absolutely. Do you think get set up?
All right. Also, yeah, make sure you go follow our Twitters as well, so you can get updates about the show when it goes live. Like now, when we did a scheduling change, you'll see all that. Definitely on mine. Usually, I see it on Lee and Anthony's as a retweet or other information. But we'll also put out stuff about whatever because we're all geeks. So, and
Accurate.
then, like Anthony said, definitely go check out the Discord, which you put in there. Cool. And we'll be sharing any links that we get or that we discuss. We'll try to put those in Discord as well for anybody that doesn't grab it from the chat. So. Big into sports, yes, sports ball.
That's just me.
Yeah, no. I have.
Go Birds.
I'm the sports ball person.
Yeah, I'm all
I'm
about the
not-
cards.
I'm not a big fact guy, but I'm always rooting for the cards, and I do enjoy baseball games.
Yeah,
So,
I'm actually looking around my room to see if I have any. I have no sports memorabilia in here at all. That's.
it's okay.
It is what it is. I got. Oh wait,
still
nope.
love you.
No? Oh, he does have something.
Hey, that's a
kind of
sports
sports ball. Tetherball.
That
It's
was
a tether ball.
that was pretty lit in, like, I don't know, fifth grade.
Fifth grade. Yeah, that's all I was gonna say.
That Foursquare.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
never good at
my
Foursquare.
kid comes home playing ones. Oh, there you go.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, my kid come home playing all kinds of weird games that they have. That I'm like, we didn't have those. And yeah, they're all
My
like
elementary school had
chalk
really
type
weird
games.
games.
Well, it's like the
Chalk?
Foursquare, where all it is like chalk on the ground, pretty much, or painted on the ground.
Okay.
It's those kind of games, but there's ones with like, it's like an octagon. And I'm like, do you fight in it? Because that's the only octagon I know, and apparently they don't fight in it.
What's the
Yeah.
point?
It threw off my whole business strategy because I thought they did, but that's another episode.
So
Yeah.
interviews.
So
Yeah,
interviews.
interviewing.
Does it involve a battle?
It does sometimes. I mean, it is essentially a battle,
Yeah.
Usually with yourself. So a lot of people look at interviews as like this daunting, oh my God, I have to put a suit on and go to this interview, and I'm so nervous, and which is fair. You're usually in a time when you're switching careers. It's not, especially in the IT world, shaky ground where you don't know what may be next it's scary, and it's
Yeah.
it's a leap of faith that if you're gonna take it, you have to kind of just do it, because if people find out you're trying to do it, well, then you're in a worse place than if you just made the move. So, um, yes,
Exactly, Spirit.
spirit, yes.
Yes, 100%.
So yeah, so the first thing is, you really need to go in there with the mentality, and it's factual. It's not faking yourself out. It's not trying to pretend something. It's a factual statement that this company needs an employee. They need someone that's skilled. Do you need a job? Yeah, maybe. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're coming from a place where you're, already currently have a job, but that company needs you a lot more than you need that specific company. Um,
Hmm.
there's right now, especially in IT, I know you guys probably are feeling the same, that there's so many positions trying to be filled that we don't have enough candidates coming in to actually fill the jobs
It's
we need. Like,
yeah, it's tight right now.
yeah, and I think a lot of that is people that talk themselves down, that don't feel they deserve a new opportunity. And we went over this in the imposter syndrome episode. If you feel like, I'm lucky to be at this company I'm at, I don't want to make that chance again, maybe the next company won't see me the same way. So that's how all this interview process
Yeah.
starts, is you have to get over that initial thing of thinking you're not good enough. And once you get to there, then you go to the next step of actually, looking for jobs. I think in our field, it's a pretty, I don't want to say easy, but it's not a difficult task to find an opening. If I said, hey, I want to go be a software engineer somewhere, I can see, probably just looking online, if I would guarantee there's 50 openings
Oh
that
yeah,
I
for
could
sure.
choose from.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, especially IT. Um, and it's the
Everyone's
same with a
hungry.
lot of other industries as well. Um, I'm sure you guys have seen the like going up to different stores and they're closed early, or they're not open a certain day now, or because
Hmm.
and I thought it was because of COVID. And I talked to some of the managers and the owners of those, and they actually told me it's not really due to COVID regulations or anything. It's due to the fact that they lost all the people during COVID layoffs, and now they're trying to they have 20 openings, but no one wants to interview.
Right, the people
So
they let go found somewhere else to be.
yeah, it's yeah, either that, or a
Yeah.
lot of people are happy not working right now, which is a mindset that I don't think I can ever be in. I feel like even when I'm
So
retired, I'm gonna be working.
yeah, I actually read something interesting about this whole great resignation concept you're talking about right now. So there was an article recently that said people aren't quitting and not working. People are quitting and starting their own business.
Hmm.
There was a huge spike and I don't remember the names of the metrics, but one of them had to do with registering new businesses. So there's a large spike in the registration of new businesses, large spikes, and a couple of other things related to startups. And I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, and I'm sure there are some people who have quit and aren't working.
Mm-hmm.
But this particular article said, hey, these people haven't disappeared. They're working. They're just choosing to work for themselves now.
They're just not giving you money. Yeah.
Right. Right.
No, and that's a very valid point. I mean, that's what my wife did. She worked for two different salons that both could not pay their mortgages because of failed business practices during the pandemic. Now, yes,
Mm.
I'm obviously not going to downplay the pandemic. It is what it is, but you should, as a business, have enough to pay your bills if you're a functioning business. So this isn't like they lost a bunch of customers. It was bad business practices. So she
Hmm.
worked at two different places like this, and we went over the fact that, well, it sucks working for someone that can't pay their mortgage or
Yeah.
whatever they're doing, lease, whatever. And my wife was the one losing a job because the company went out of business. And we're like, well, that doesn't seem right because you did everything right. So that's when we decided during the pandemic to be like, let's start your own company. And it's been doing awesome. So I don't
That's
know
great.
how they were managing their money, but I
Yeah.
don't think they understood the whole here's what you have, then take off your rent, take off your expenses. It seems like basic business practices, but maybe I'm crazy. Or maybe
Yeah.
That's
both.
one of the reasons why I love the fact that my kids seem to be doing more of the hustle mindset, gig mindset than job mindset. Because
Mm-hmm.
although getting a job teaches you things, I fully acknowledge that running your own lawn care business or
Oh, yeah.
merchandising your, selling stuff yourself, you've got to learn that bottom line, or else it's not going to function, right?
Yep.
If you start out with $100, if you get to the point where you're paying your bills and in your cell phone and paying for living expenses and doing gifts at Christmas and for people's birthdays, if you're able to do
Yeah.
all that, you've been successful. If you do that
Yeah.
and then you can't purchase the stuff you need to sell next month,
Yeah.
you kind of failed.
And that's how these businesses were operating. You can tell that they were a lot of money was going up for appearance. And they're salons, so they want to have everything's great here. Look at all these brand new chairs and this endless supply of product, and in my head I'm like, why don't you just order a tenth of that product to keep active? Maybe just use your old chairs. If you're in the middle of a freaking pandemic, you gotta cover them anyway. So, and that I could
Yeah.
probably talk about that for 6 hours because I was so mad at them. There's all so much common sense stuff. I'm like, just stop doing that. What do you mean?
Yeah.
That would be a
Yeah.
good topic sometime, just talking about running businesses and
Absolutely.
the
Yeah, I would
kind of
love to
logic and
hear.
everything.
I would love to hear Lee's perspective on that. Some episodes so that we can dive in. I've only ran a very short term business back in college, building servers, so
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Yeah, we can certainly talk about that at some point. So Strenuous has some interesting comments. He's talking about how, some people took early retirement. They just decided, you know what, I'm close enough. Maybe I want to
Yep.
isolate, and my company won't let me. So
Yeah.
I'm going to isolate anyway by retiring, so
Or
I
finding a
can
new
do what
job.
I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I've heard that
I
as
know
well.
people, so I believe it. I don't want to say everyone's doing it because I know people that's doing it, but
Mhm.
I totally believe that.
Yep.
Yeah.
A non-zero amount of people are like, you know what,
Yes.
I'm
Greater
out.
than one.
Especially, and I don't think we want to get fully political, but I think everyone knows there's people who are really upset about like people talking about mandates coming out.
Mhm.
And if you're one of those people and you're about to retire, you know what, you're like deuces, and then you're a Walmart greeter or you're doing your own thing or action.
Yeah. Yeah, and it increases competition. There are less
Mhm.
people in the market, and from that perspective, and there are lots of jobs. I mean, somebody in here is talking about how it's, you know, there are very selective companies.
Yeah.
So, they might have 50 people apply, and they
So
only interview 10 of those people.
yeah, I guess my question with those type of companies, at least what I've always thought about when people are like, I'm really trying to get a job here. Um, and usually it's because it's more of a selective type place. It's more a little prestigious. My thing is though, if it's, I don't know how to ask this without sounding like an asshole, but like, what is the benefit of working for a more selective company? I guess it could be pay, but
Could be
you
pay,
know,
or if you talk about FANG companies, then I mean that's kind of a career maker still, right?
Yeah.
That's why everyone
Yeah.
on LinkedIn's like former Airbnb. Oh, I saw you in the food court, but they work for Airbnb or LinkedIn. Not LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn is another one, Google or any of
yeah,
them. I mean,
yeah.
they wear that as a badge for a long time.
I feel like that is maybe that's just because of our industry, but I feel like that's more of a badge because those companies have the culture and the things that most people in IT are looking for. Obviously, their pay is competitive because they can. But, like Google, you hear about their company cultures of, not pretty much having no, what's it called? No PTO and taking off just whenever you need to take off. Stuff like that, where, it really, it's the pinnacle of what a lot of us are searching for. Like,
Yeah.
freedom, essentially. The freedom to do our job and not worry about if I have to go get my kid from school or. So at the same time, do you, and this goes to Spirit or anybody else looking at specific type jobs or specific companies, I guess. Have you tried to narrow down what you like about that company? And this goes into the points of the dues of interview process, is knowing where you want to work and knowing the company that you're applying at. So have you tried to isolate the variables that you really like about the places that you feel you can't get into? Because, I mean, it's a fact. Sometimes they're looking for a master's degree. If you don't have a master's degree, well, you can't work there. Like, that's just how it goes. But it's not saying they're right or wrong, but, they want some of the master's degree, you don't have it. What do you like about that company that drove you to really want to work there? Isolate those factors and then find other companies like it. They may not be big, well-known, big-name companies. It may be, I'm just trying to think of some, Amazon, let's say. Like, it's a big company, but as a developer, that might not be my first thought because I mean, I guess AWS is a thing, but in my head, I wouldn't think around here that Amazon would have development positions. I'm sure they do. Or Anthony, you worked at a bank for a little bit. Companies like that where you don't necessarily think of the company as your specific job, but most companies have every job available. We have DBAs and devs and accounting and process analysis, all
It was
that.
like,
Oh,
for instance, in New York.
You cut out there, Anthony. Nope.
Yeah, something's wrong with your volume.
It let you talk for a second, then it went away.
I think it's my internet.
I'll say it may be network you're cutting out of. That's what the chat's for. Perfect. But so first, when you want to go in and you decide you want to make a career change or start a career, the first thing you need to do is know yourself and know what you want. A lot of people go in with the attitude of what can I get, or what does this company need that I can do. When no, what do you want? Start your career early by saying you're number one. You're the most invaluable. You're the most valuable person in your career because that's all you have. Anthony and Lee, you guys are great, but I'm not furthering your career by, just talking, and it's friendships and coworkers. Like, you should look out for yourself. Do your best not to, backstab anybody. Don't burn your bridges, but obviously we're all sitting here, so we're okay on that front. But yeah, so know yourself.
I think so.
And then also know what you're. Really sit down and put some effort, like hours. I'm not saying like off the top of your head every, in 10 minutes figure out what you feel gives you satisfaction in life. But no, think about this as a very deep, almost meditative type way of, what actually brings happiness to my life? What gives me fulfillment? What makes me want to get up? Because once you find that in a job, I mean, you've heard it before, love what you do and never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
So once you figure out that core of who you are and what you want that makes you fulfilled, okay, that's your baseline. That's not your that's not your best you're ever going to get. That's what you should look for now. Something that's going to start fulfilling your purpose in life or how you feel while also progressing in your career. You see this a lot in our field. Upper managements, and I'm not getting any specifics here. This is just 100% make believe. Generalizations, yes. So you see a lot of times you'll see an upper management that's just so burnt out and so done with their job and with their career, and you can tell 15 years ago they made a mistake and they worked somewhere that was either because it had a higher pay or because they knew someone there or they got a foot in somehow. It's a choice that was made without the concentration and thinking of the long term. And that mentality, obviously, from if there anybody above you that has that attitude, or that it's not really an attitude, because a lot of them are really good at their jobs. But once you start getting burnt out, that gets passed on to those around you. And I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been burnt out at jobs, and I've noticed it rubbing off on people. And I'm like, okay, let's back up a little. I can't bring you down my rabbit hole right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, knowing the place or knowing yourself is the first real bullet point there. But yeah, definitely spend time on it. Don't just glance over it. This is your entire life. Like, you're setting up for your future, and if you do it right, it's going to be an easy future. And then second, once you figure all that out, you really want to know the companies that you're interviewing at. Not just the names, not just, oh yeah, I've heard of them, or I heard they had a good IT department, but like, do research into your companies. Figure out who management is. Figure out salary, definitely, because we have sites like Glassdoor and salary.com, and you can pretty much figure out what you're worth and what you should be getting paid at this new company. Figure out what your day-to-day is, what kind of, in my case, what kind of programming stacks I'd be using.
What your ideal day-to-day is, like, what is it,
Yeah.
you want, how you want to work your flow all day.
Yeah, so yeah, you can, and some of this goes into the interview process, which we'll talk about in a minute, about talking about what the day-to-day routine is and how to properly present that without acting like you don't, or sounding like you don't know what you're applying for. But yeah, once you know this company, are you a, and this is different for everybody, but are you a morally conscious person when it comes to your employment? Do you want to work for a big oil company, or does that go against what you personally feel?
It's a good point.
Yeah, there's a lot of little.
I just
things.
had a local company pop in my head, but yes, I mean, that became an issue for me. Is just trying to figure out how my own ethics and concepts and ideas about the environment or whatever played into, yes, I like this company, it's a possibility. That company over there is automatically out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, with the I forget what it was called now, but the housing problems in 2000, it kind of started in 2008, 2010 was really big. It was all bad for a couple of years there. Working for a bank during that time, that was a little tricky because everybody loves to dog on the bank, and like they talk like every single employee there is just like some kind of evil being, and like we're all just people with families and lives who are just like paying the bills, and just the guy who's working the food court, I made a comment earlier, isn't part of the Illuminati that's trying to do evil things. But yeah, I was talking about like moral issues, or sometimes just like culture that we live in. Sometimes those things clash.
Yeah, we recently, and I'm sure some of the people in this in chat probably have heard about it because we play games together. But Bungie is the creator of Destiny 2, which is one of the main games I play. And they had some, I'm not going to get real into it, but they had some culture issues going on at the company. And a lot of people, who was at my front door? Sorry. A lot of people decided that the correct route of action was to boycott Bungie. And I don't personally believe in boycotts. I think they're dumb and they hurt people that are just trying to do their job, like you said. Especially when it comes to something like with this one, it was a culture issue. I think it was some off-color stuff said, and people are boycotting the entire company. But there's devs. I mean, they make video games, so I'm sitting here thinking of all these devs. Like, you're gonna put devs that had nothing to do with it, that are probably some stand-up people, out of jobs because 2 or 3 people at the top did something who already been fired. So that's my personal take on that. But that definitely does come down to that.
Yeah.
What do you believe? You're going to work for someone that is on your own moral standing, I would say. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be on the highest ground, but you want someone that's agreeable with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, whatever
I
your
work
ethics
for a
are.
veterans company, it's obviously
Yeah.
that hits home. So
Yeah, I mean, you just need to find a place that fits with your ethics. Whatever those are, whatever that looks like for you, you just, keep that in mind when you investigate a company.
yeah. So and like we were saying, investigation. That's definitely what it is. That you want to look in and find out as much as you can, because why not? Like, you're going to be working for this place for an unforeseeable future. I think in IT, typical is 6 years before turnover. And that's always, or usually the case is that the dev leaves, not that the dev gets fired. But, you want to make sure that at least, am I cool with this place for 6 to 10 years? Or ever, or forever, if you find that company. But definitely look into them. And then from there, yourself, the company, you're good with both, you think they align, you're going to go in for the interview process. So depending on how you found this job, it's going to be different ways of getting there, obviously. So if you have a recruiter, they do a lot of the legwork for you. They'll set it all up and you just kind of show up, which is kind of nice. I've used recruiters, don't have anything against them. They do a great job. I think with the market being so needy right now, I don't think a recruiter is a necessity, but I don't think it hurts. So we'll say that you get through the process, you go through their online signups, or everybody has a different way of getting to applying for a job now. But let's say you get in there, you get an interview. So my number one thing that I've seen, and I'm sure you have too, is just my first thing, not number one. My first thing is appearances. So I have two thoughts about this one. So one, if it's a company where, like mine, we wear t-shirts even if I'm in the office, so no one cares. I still wore a suit on my interview.
Right.
Don't ever underestimate the power of a suit. A good, nice suit put you a head above everyone else, because everyone else if there's other people there that day, or the previous people they interviewed for the same position. It gives you more confidence. I don't know if you guys have ever put a suit on and when you look in the mirror and you're like, this suit fits nice. Like, walk a little taller, like.
Agreed. About 50 pounds ago, I agree with you 100%.
Well, even now, you got a nice fit suit.
Yeah.
Like, it look nice. So it makes you walk a little taller, and it gives you that extra little bit of confidence that the interviewer is able to pick up on. They're
Right.
able to see like, okay, well, even if you're not top in your field, when you start talking and you're confident about it and you feel confident, it just comes off a lot better. The second point about that though, I'm all about nice suits, looking good in an interview, go get a haircut, if that's your thing. But don't change your appearance from what you want to be working there. So in my case, I didn't shave my beard. When I went to my last interview at my last company, I did because I assumed I'm going in for an interview. They want me to look nice and trimmed up, so I shaved almost all the way off. And then it throughout the process kind of hit me that I'm like, I'm changing myself to work somewhere that's supposed to be a place that I feel comfortable and fit as a culture. If they can't accept me with a beard, well, then I don't work there because that's kind of petty. So,
Yeah. And that leads into a conversation I think would be great to have sometimes tattoos also. Some minds are changing about that and
mhm.
some
Oh,
minds are not. So
I've been told,
um,
you guys know, but I've been told to wear long sleeves at companies, or when I'm going to specific parts of a company because they don't like tattoos. So what I did was I rolled my sleeves up and went to those parts of the company. Like, you literally don't like me? Like, you don't like me because I have tattoos from 20 years? Well, not all of them are 20 years ago, but from a long time
you
ago.
got them when you were like 4? Wow.
Yes. Most of mine were military. Couple before, but yeah. Either way, I'm like, if I go somewhere and I want that to be, I'm there 8 hours a day, minimum. That place better make me feel comfortable. Again, I'm working so that this company benefits. Yes, I get a paycheck, but that's the company paying me for benefiting them more than my paycheck. So
Yeah, you give them value and they give you a
yeah,
piece.
if I only made them what I got paid, they wouldn't have me working there because they'd be losing money. So
Yeah.
I'm sure in some jobs that may be different, but or some fields may be different. Um, but either way, my feeling on that is don't change your appearance except your clothes. Um, Conor McGregor. I mean, I actually kind of felt like it when I'll give you guys the story offline, but yeah, going in with tattoos in a place where you're told everyone hates tattoos. Yeah, I'm like, let's go. But oh, by the way, no one had a problem with him. Not one single person. No one said anything. I had actually some compliments from VPs on him. So that's also brings into don't listen to just because your coworker said something. It's probably not true. They heard it from someone who heard it from someone who didn't like this person's tattoo. Well, it ended up they had gang tattoos and it was like 666 all over them. I don't know. But it's like, yeah.
Oh my god.
It's like, well, maybe they don't like that one
Yeah,
showing.
there's a few things that people can judge and no one really question, right? Like
Yeah.
you roll up your sleeve and it's a swastika. Like no one's gonna be upset
Yes.
that someone goes, that's messed up, man. Well, at least very
Or
few, I hope.
like when I was in the military, I thought about getting a big pinup girl tattoo. Obviously, a very traditional military style tattoo. Um, Looking back, I'm glad I didn't because that's the type of tattoo that in a workplace probably not appropriate. So therefore, I would
Right.
have to wear long sleeves, and that would be for my own morals or my own ethics. It would keep me from getting in trouble, but I would probably do it anyway because I wouldn't want to, offend someone seeing big old, usually naked girl. Lee, are you muted, by the way? You are muted.
Yeah.
In case you didn't know.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
I had
So,
done
yeah.
that earlier and forgot.
But yeah, I was gonna say definitely dress to impress. I say get it like for me, I get a haircut. I just got one yesterday. Looks pretty slick because I got a wedding this weekend. But
You're
if
getting
you
married?
My brother's getting married.
I know.
If you have long hair or you like to wear your hair down to your shoulders, don't cut it. That's going to be the you that's going to be working there. And you don't want to grow into a person that they don't like. So if they didn't like you in the interview process because you had long hair, and you think that once you start working there, you're going to grow your hair out, don't cut your damn hair. Like it, you don't want to be a different person after the interview.
Right. So what do we like? We're in the interview. What do we do once we're there?
So you're dressed up, you look nice. Show up early. Don't be that person.
Show up early for like, there's like 12 reasons you show up early.
Yeah,
that's
probably a whole episode by itself.
Yeah, you got to show up early, not just because you want them to know you show up early, because that's not even the important part. So you can get there, so you can make 5 wrong turns. You're nervous. You go into the wrong door of the building. Turns out it's a campus. Oh, well, you're interviewing in Monsanto. It's in a giant campus.
You're in building
there,
B, and right now you're in building F. You're like, ah.
You got mom's spaghetti. Chat made a joke about that earlier. On your shirt, you gotta go get that taken care of, right? You have to pee. Oh, nervous. Yeah, lots of reasons. So you're in there. Get there early.
You get there early. I always say 15 minutes early to anything that I try to go to, whether it's an interview, an event, and that's always what we were taught in the military, 15 minutes. And that just gives you, like you said, enough time to make mistakes. Bring a Tide pen. People don't think about that. Keep a Tide pen in your car or on you, because again, mom's spaghetti. You go out and you're like, man, I need a coffee before I do this interview. I need to go grab just like a drink of coffee, whatever. And you're drinking, you spill coffee all over. Well, that's a terrible first impression. So bring a Tide pen or something to clean yourself up with. You're in there. You're in the interview process. They open the door. However, if it's virtual, it's a little different. Nowadays, a lot are virtual. It does take away there's this interpersonal bond that's created when you meet someone, whether you're going to talk to them again ever or not. There's this first impression that if done correctly, this person's going to walk away saying that was, I don't know about him as an interview process because that's technical and whatever, but as a person, okay, stand-up guy. One of those is if you are doing in person, which I feel like we're going to start getting back to pretty soon, is the handshake. A lot of people get their handshake wrong. And it sounds like nothing. It's just a handshake. But do you have something?
That was me licking my hand.
Oh. I just looked over as you did this. I was like, I don't know what you're doing. But yes, the handshake is very important. I was taught from a young age that handshakes are important and that it's the first of the first impression. You see someone, you shake their hand. Right away, they have something about you. They have information about you that their brain's processing, probably not on a higher level, but on a very rudimentary, what do they call it? Lizard brain level of
subconscious.
Our primordial, that is primal brain that says something about this person I like. So quick handshake thing, just firm, and don't be that guy that crushes anybody's hands, obviously, and don't be the limp noodle hand when you shake. That
this is sounding complicated.
Be like, just go away. Notes. But no, it's honestly, good handshake is always make sure the webbings cross or the webbings connect and you have a firm shake. One shake, just one handshake of nice to meet you. Don't go crazy. Yeah, that's about it. Keep it real simple, and people right away have just a good impression of who you are. So, again, it doesn't seem as important as it is, and it may just be more important to me because that's how I judge a lot of people off the bat. But
I personally kind of hope that we just Didn't get
Stay at
back
home
to
for-
handshaking. It didn't get well that too. No, the this for a while it's just you know, fist bump knuckles kind of thing.
Yeah.
Would have been nice
And
if
then-
it stayed that way. That's just me though.
Yeah, and if it does evolve into where we don't do the handshake anymore, our brains are still going to pick up signals that, okay, well, you're doing a fist bump, like, okay, our brains are going to start interpreting this as, well, I knew this one guy who fist bumped like this and he was an asshole, so I don't like you because you did that same type. You know, so just be cognizant of making it a professional and, you know, a solid handshake or whatever you're doing. Obviously, you know, treat everybody with the utmost respect when you're in there. Not only for the interview process, but I mean, that's just good practice. You know,
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
I've actually read stories, hopefully they weren't made up, of people who didn't get jobs because they mistreated the secretary or whoever greeted them at the front entrance.
Yep.
Or they were mean to the people that they got into an elevator with, that kind of thing. And the person who interviewed them,
Hey, Plague.
what's that?
Plague. Plague's not a guy.
Oh yeah.
Anthony.
Yes. Hey, Plague. The interviewer found out about that stuff, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Wow, it's completely different. That person was completely different with me, so that's kind of a problem."
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, think about it. If you were doing the interview, and you know most people that you work with, and let's say you're doing an interview with this guy, we'll call him, you know, Zach. So you're
Or not a
interviewing
guy.
Zach. Whatever. But you're interviewing Zach, and let's say he leaves, and then there you have a break room or something, and he's talking to people in the break room, and he's just a complete asshole. Well, that's going to get back to you. Most of our companies are small enough, or not say small, but most of our we talk. You know, if someone just interviewed and someone met him leaving the building, you're going to hear about it and be like, well, how were they? And if they were not the most respectful person ever, I would never hire them. So I guarantee those stories are true.
I've heard a story recently that someone after the interview, which went really well, left the building, and instead of walking on the path, just kind of jaywalked across the grass, and they got the owner of the company saw that and was like, "That's disrespectful." So they didn't get the job.
And that's another thing is that, you know, certain people were raised with what is respectful, what isn't. For me, walking on grass has always been very disrespectful. Like if you're walking into someone's up to someone's house, you don't cross their yard, you go through their driveway up to walk. But you know, some people may not have that same mentality, and that's completely fine. It's just, you know, you just have to read the room. So you're in there, you have a good handshake, you start talking, and you know, inevitably, the first thing that's said, tell me about yourself. So a lot of people take this as a chance to read their resume because they feel that's what they want to hear. In reality, most companies, when they say tell me about yourself, have already read your resume. They already know your professional experience. They want to know about you. They want to know about the culture fit. You know, are you going to be that guy that's always late for work? You know, are you going to be, and you can figure these things out by just talking about, or just revealing some things about yourself. So one thing, don't go over your resume. That's for them. They know your personal. If they want to know something technically related, they're going to ask you. So it says here you were in Java. You know, tell me about the Java process that you're in. But they want to know about yourself. Tell them about your hobbies. Make sure you have hobbies.
Make sure you have hobbies.
Yeah, they don't want to hire someone that's boring and is going to be non-culture.
NCAA football PS3.
There you go. I keep pointing you over there, like but you're not. Um, yeah, like mine are. I fish. Um, I make my own beard oils. Try to get some stuff that's
Yeah.
a little unique. Like they can give some insight into your life. So, don't use that as a platform for resume reading. Once they do get to that point, what you want to do is you you don't again want to reread your resume. You want to um, summarize it in a different manner. So if I have a thing saying, hey, I worked on Java applications for 5 years, 350 applications, and how resumes go, you just list off everything. And then they ask me about my Java experience. If I say, well, I worked in Java for 5 years, 350 applications, or maintained 350 applications, and did this XYZ that I already have, they're like, well, yeah, but what do you know about Java? And we saw that you did that. Tell us your
Yeah.
experience. So that's when you go into, well, in this, this type, or you get into, well,
A
in
story.
Java, I'm doing unit testing and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, you understand what you're actually talking about, not just you found some keywords and threw them on your resume. Because by
That's,
repeating your
by the
resume over
way,
and over, keywords, that's all that a lot of people do.
yeah,
And you can
I've
get a
had
job that way.
conversations. I've had conversations. I've been interviewing, and the person, this is SQL specific, will just like start listing joins. I've done things like inner join, outer join, left join, right join, anti-semi join, blah 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 blah. And then I also did things like, and then there's a listing off things, and it's like I got nothing from that. Like, ugh, what are you reading right now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's yeah.
this is a good place for a story. Like if somebody says, tell me what you do or tell me about your Java experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we had this project that we were working on, and here's the problem that we had to solve. And here are the 6 things I did as I developed my code. Then I tested the code, and then it went into the push process and eventually went out to production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
That
Yeah,
sounded a lot smoother than all of my feature pushes.
that was the key points of every deployment we've ever had. Just skipping all the bad stuff that happens. It's like, oh yeah, you just do it and push it to prod. It's fine. But yeah, no, and that also brings up the storytelling. I like a casual approach to interviews. Now, don't take that the wrong way. I like a professional casual approach. You go in there obviously professional. Everything you're going to do in a company needs to be professional. But there's nothing to say you can't be casual about it. You can talk to them like they're normal people, because they are. They're looking for someone to work with. They're not looking for a subordinate that's going to just be a robot and do things. No,
and if they are, you don't want to work there anyway.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But they want that culture fit. They want someone that, hey, I'm gonna see this guy probably every week at least at the minimum. I want someone that's not gonna be just blah blah blah. Anything you say, boss. It's like, no, they want something that says like Lee said. Oh, I'll tell you about a story about my last company that I was working at, and you go through, because then they're like, okay, this person can relate to people. They can talk. They have personal skills. There's a lot of things picked up by that.
Yeah, for sure. So this reminds me of a question I was asked several jobs ago. So I was asked, "Do you play an instrument?" Which you could just say yes or no, but then that prompts all kinds of things. Like I said, no.
Lee pulls out his trombone. He's like, I do actually.
Yeah. No, but
I played trombone. That's why I went there.
At various points in my life, I've wanted to learn. Or, yeah, I don't. But I really wish that my parents, that I'd gone along with the suggestion my parents made when I was in elementary school and gotten into band just to see if I'd liked it, because I really do like music. Don't just answer yes or no.
Yes.
give a little more information. It helps them. You're having a conversation with people.
So for mad props and a million internet cookies, can anyone guess what instrument I played in
Oboe.
band? No.
Then
Think cooler.
I'm gonna go with
That's loaded.
the bassoon.
No.
Oh.
Don't call
It's
me
the coolest instrument ever. You serious? It's like 19
tuba.
feet tall.
Sousaphone. I actually played the saxophone.
Okay, that's probably the
okay.
coolest of the instruments to play, so that's fair.
All right.
I played
I wasn't
trombone.
any good at it, but I thought it was cool.
No, the coolest part about trombone, there's only 6 notes. So
Guitar.
it's because it's slide positions. So there's only like 6 slide positions up until you get like super fancy, but all through high school and stuff, 6 slide positions. I can remember that shit. It's fine, and then you just kind of make it up as you go. It's whatever.
Make it
so. Some musicians in the chat.
Tenor sax,
guitar, tenor sax. I don't know what that is, but this isn't a radar show.
Trumpet. Yeah. So anyway,
so you get in there, do the
It's cool, Kevin. It's cool.
The initial step. You have some interviews, some back and forth. You're being respectful but professional and casual. Active listening. This one I see a lot in IT in general.
What?
Exactly.
Kevin pointed out be verbose. That's a good one.
Yes.
There's a fine line. There's 90%, is good. There's you could be like me and ramble.
And you can leave out details that may have made you look bad in the story as well, or sugarcoat them a little bit, because that's what we do as humans. So
yeah. So we need to listen. Active listening.
So yes, active listening. In IT in general, and this is everywhere you go. If you're going to talk to whoever, this does not matter. Active listening is something that should be practiced always, or at least in a professional manner. And what I mean by active listening is when someone's talking to you, you're looking at them, you're maintaining eye contact as much as possible. It's a very awkward thing to maintain eye contact with someone while they're talking. And this is known. We've all felt it. You're staring at someone they're talking, and then all of a sudden, all you can think about is the fact that you're keeping eye contact. So, you're allowed to look away, but try to maintain eye contact at least 3 or 4 seconds at a time while you're talking, and then, look away, whatever. And you build up the confidence to just maintain it as you, as you do it more. The other part of active listening is responding and keeping tone with while they're talking, or with what they're talking about. So if they're talking, you're actually looking at them. You're actively engaging your facial muscles and your features of knowing that you're calculating what they say, that you're interpreting all this, and you're mulling over in your head. If someone just has a blank stare while you're telling a story, and we've probably all been there too, where you're telling someone a story and they're just like, I don't know how you're reacting, so I don't know which way to take this story.
Right. Should I tighten this up, or should I keep going?
Are you just sick of hearing me by now? Should I just shut up? So active listening is that state of being aware that the other person is just as nervous as you, and they want someone to have an engaging conversation with. And when they're talking, you want to be that guy that's making the active listening, the facial features, the looking at them, nodding when you hear something that even sounds remotely familiar. You don't have to nod because you agree or because you know exactly what they're talking about. But if it's at all familiar, it's, oh, yep, okay. And I've gotten to the point in my life where active listening is just how I talk to people now. And it always amazes me because companies look at it as like a heightened level of communication skills, when in reality it should be like the base level of communication skills. But we are not known for our personal skills in IT as a whole. I think it's getting a lot better. It is.
Different people, different wavelengths too. As you know,
Mhm.
if you're out there and you have ADD and you're hearing us talk about paying attention to conversations, it's a struggle. Like, what's going on my phone right now? Okay, I'm gonna turn
Mhm.
on this stream. I'm like, what's going on my phone right now? Turn it upside down. Stop stealing my attention.
Yeah.
It's long conversations are hard. You don't want you're
Yeah.
not trying to be rude, but
Oh yeah,
sometimes
100%.
your
So
brain flips the channels.
that brings up a good point I've been thinking about for a little bit. So when you mentioned shaking people's hands,
Yeah.
I totally agreed with you. I have some folks in my family though where that they don't like that. It's feels very forced. They don't like touching other people and they don't like people touching them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
that's fair. Yeah.
the eye contact thing, some people can't, that's really, really hard. Like
Mhm.
it's not a normal thing. Um, and this might be something that we take in a different direction, um, in a different stream.
I
But I
think
just
we
wanted to
should.
interject it here that what we're talking about, or it feels like what you're describing, Grady, is a very traditional scenario, and that works for 80% of people that you and I would
Yeah.
run into, probably.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say for the people on the stream and for people who will watch this later, I think we would all realize that there are people for whom this advice would make them extremely uncomfortable. And
Yep.
I don't know what advice to give you. And each person who is experiencing that, uh, you're going to need different kinds of help. So I'm just saying, uh, if you can't give eye contact a lot, if maybe if you have a diagnosis and you know what that is,
Yep.
maybe, and I have a family member that I've told this and it's worked out. When you get into that interview and you get a first few minutes in, tell the person, I am whatever it is.
Yep.
I really have a hard time with eye contact and these kinds of things, but I'm paying attention to you and I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
And then move forward. The other person probably appreciate the candor.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Thanks
Yeah,
for letting
this
me
is
know because I was thinking I was doing something wrong. You know, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is again, I'm trying to touch on the majority
sure.
of
Yeah.
everybody. But yeah, there's definitely people that it does get easier as time goes with the eye contact. And
Right.
the shaking
I
hands
think it
thing,
can.
it's like Anthony was saying, if it went away because of everything going on, it's like, okay. It's just that
Yeah.
I think the handshake can give you more of a benefit than it would give you a downside. So you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
make
If I can
yourself
word
look better.
if I word it this way, it's a social concept that exists, and if you're going to be partaking in it, you might as well use it to your advantage. Use it as an
Yeah.
Right.
give the shake, and yada yada yada.
I feel like if
Um,
you walked into an interview and just did like a fist bump, that because you don't want to shake hands, or you just do one of these, like the international sign of I'm not shaking hands right now, the other person wouldn't think any less of you. So I don't think that's an issue. Again, I think the handshake
I
can
know
give
someone
you a
professional
couple
who just
points
does
though.
fish bumps and
The
oh
what?
sorry, but I got
No,
broken
sorry.
up there for a second. Yeah, so I know some people. I know somebody who doesn't do handshakes, and they just lead with a quick comment. They put the fist up and then roll with it.
Yeah, that's situational and completely fine. Yeah, so once you get in there, where are we in the interview process at this point? They've asked you about yourself. You've told them about some of your career. You've told the story, as I keep going this way, as Lee suggested. At this point, they're kind of feeling good about their choice of having you come in to interview, and you want to maintain this relationship that you're creating. And a lot of people say, avoid fidgeting in your chair or spinning or moving around too much, using too many hand gestures. And I'm like, in my experience of being the interviewer and the interviewee, when I see someone moving around, all I think is, yeah, they're probably as ADD as I am, and they're probably like don't want to be sitting right here. I want to be doing something. And I'm like, guess what we can do? Put you in front of code. And you'll just be like, because you're so ADD that you'll just stick to it.
Yeah,
At least that's me.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I'm the ADHD, so
All right, yeah.
like that. Not, but touching on what we talked about a little bit ago, everyone's a little bit different. Everyone has different, and not everyone realizes that the person they're talking to feels like they have a motor attached to them, and they're hiding it the whole time.
Mhm.
Like you may be able to put 90% of your mental capacity in this interview. I'm only able to put 80 because the other 20% is keeping me from fiddling with stuff or stacking
Yeah.
stuff or conveniently stacking pieces of paper uh, off camera so my hand has something to do while I'm talking. Like it's just
Yeah.
coping strategies. But I can't do that during an interview. If I'm having a conversation
If it's
folding this off screen and stacking it up, it's off screen.
Say if it's a non in person, if it's a virtual interview, you can. But like during my virtual interview, I would love to rewatch it because I'm pretty much doing everything I do right now when I'm talking to you, but spinning and moving my armrests and just because I'm nervous, which is completely, fine. But at the same time, I'm applying again for somewhere I want to be accepted and working at as a person, not as a just a resource. So when they see me sitting here talking to them, and they see me look at another screen because I'm checking my resume, which was happened to be on this screen pulled up, it's if anything, they're just like, okay, so he's a normal person that isn't trying too hard, but at the same time isn't doing anything that puts him off. It's just moving is fine. So if you hear people talk about that, and that's your own personal preference. You might have to, depending on how you are. I mean, don't go in there dancing, or unless you're a good dancer, then go in there dancing.
I mean, I guess it depends on the job, right?
Yeah. Maybe you're going to be a tango instructor. So yeah, who was it? Brought up being verbose. Kevin brought up being verbose, right?
Yeah, Kevin.
Okay. So yeah, that's definitely also important. So as you're doing all this, be verbose. But if it's a question that you have to read the room, but if it's something that they're looking for a specific answer, don't walk around the answer by being overly verbose. Be more concise on those. So if they say, again, I use my field because that's all I know. But if they said, "What did you use for logging in C#?" and you're like, "Well, you see, the thing about logging is," it's like, no, they want to know if you know the question that they're asking. So you can be like, "Oh, sidecar," like, oh, okay, something. Like sometimes they're looking for a very concise answer. So once again, they're at this point, they like you. You've given the right answers as far as tech goes. There's only so much I can give on advice when it comes to the technical side because depending on the person or the company, they're looking for someone with a select group of skills, as it is. So as long as you feel you have those skills, or you feel that you are a right match to learn them in the process of starting this job, because that's also completely fine, to learn new skills that are related to your skill. But don't lie about what you know. Like you're allowed to balloon it a little bit, but don't.
So let's not say balloon it.
Yeah, how would you want to put that?
Oh, I'm breaking up. I'm breaking up again, aren't I?
Oh, you're good.
Yes.
Hopefully I'm good now. Okay. So the way I like to word it is, this is not the time to be bashful. This is the time to sell yourself.
Okay, yeah.
But doubt things like ballooning or anything like that. It just sounds like you're saying something that's not true, or you're being the car salesman.
Yes, that's true.
Tell it straight. This is what I do. Try to leave some of yourself down at the door, and
yeah. So for example, in interviews I've been in, so as SQL Server DBA, people will generally ask me about T-SQL,
Mhm.
and I'll answer whatever question, if they're answering, how do you do this in T-SQL, whatever, I'll do my best to answer that question.
Yeah.
But very early, I will typically follow up with, just so you understand, um, I can write T-SQL, but it's not my strong suit. If you give me a blank screen and say, write me a stored procedure that does these 20 things, I'm probably not going to be your guy. Like, I could probably do it, but I'm not going to do it as fast as someone like Anthony.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not a
man.
developer. I don't have that background. And then move on and answer whatever else comes your way,
Yes. Yes. Completely okay to also say, I don't know.
Yes.
There's no problem being like, I have no idea. I can probably find that out for you, but I have no clue right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not something
So,
that I have any experience with, unfortunately.
mhm.
But if I were going to learn about that, I'd probably go to so and so's blog
Yep.
or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, throw some references out
For
there
me,
while you're
that's
at
a good
it.
answer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if I heard someone say, "Oh, I can," I don't know about that, but I can jump on plural site and find a course and get spun
Yeah,
up.
that
I'd
too.
be like,
Mm.
all right, this guy knows how to learn. Cool. It's
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
one less thing I have to worry about.
You ask all this question and they're like, I think I've dealt with that before. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure I found out about that on Annie Leonard's site. You don't, that's not, you know, that's that normal study. That says that right. Pre-interview stuff there, right? Obviously they've looked at the problem before. If they know and they can name an MVP, looks into that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, during my last interview process, I I said I don't know at least twice in a way that didn't make me sound like I didn't know what I was talking about, but it was, I was moving from a Java position to a .NET Core position. There's a big gap there of just syntax and changing of what I connections and how everything works. But
Sure.
um, I also started out letting them know, well, my background is Java, um, so I'm gonna answer this from a Java side, and in JavaScript, here's what I would do, and then if they see proficiency in how you answer something based off what you currently know, then they understand that, well, he absorbed that on his side. All he has to do is transfer the skills to something else,
Yeah.
and it'll be fine. So again, they're
Exactly.
looking at that communication and that interpersonal skills that you have, the soft skills that they call them. Learning, I think, is considered a soft skill. Now, what you learn would be, your programming and your SQL and all that. Those are your, hard, obviously, business related skills. But how you learn those is a soft skill.
Yeah.
So,
And in a lot of interview situations, whoever you're talking to, especially, past the HR level, they want to know the answer to the question, can this person learn?
yes.
So whatever you can do to answer that question with yes in tangible ways, maybe by storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
will help them feel more comfortable. So if you're in Grady's situation where you're moving from one skill set to another, it's still programming, it's still development,
Mm-hmm.
it's still software engineering. Then if you demonstrate you know how to learn, then uh, they'll feel comfortable with, you can transition from what you know now to what we need you to know in 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the IT field, I feel like 6 months you can pretty much learn. If you're a good learner, you can pretty much learn anything, like enough to work somewhere. I'm not going to say you'll be a master of it, but you can learn base skills of pretty much anything in 6 months, um, with the right type of teaching and learning. But that does bring up. Oh, my list went away. Hold on. My notes. Imagine, God, 20 years ago, the me that was then would never have thought that I would have a page of notes while I'm doing something. But we've evolved as people. um, so okay, we're at the point where they like everything you're saying. You have stories, you have soft skills. They're like, okay, we think we want to hire this person, you know. But they don't obviously say that during the interview. The second part of the interview is you interviewing the company. So you should kind of be doing this the entire time as they're talking to you, figuring out how they treat people. Um, you know, this person may be one of the few interactions you have with this company to see how their culture is. So you know you need to be absorbing that and you know figuring out if you actually like it. But then you have the opportunity during a meeting or during an interview, ask whatever you want about the company, like anything at all. Like what were you guys's what are your projected sales for next year for this company? A lot of people don't ask that, but guess what? That's important to me because next year I'm going to be working at this company. Do you have a
Yeah.
higher projected sales than this year? If you're going downhill, might not want to jump on this company. um, and then it also goes into you can ask about. Uh, I don't want to say this is a trick because I don't want to use it as a non-honest purpose. But ask about who you'll be working with, and it sets
Yeah,
it in
that's a
their
reasonable
mind.
question.
Yeah, and well, it sets it in their mind right away. They're associating you now with the people you're working with on your team. So subconsciously, they're already kind of putting you on the team. So you ask about, so what are the other people on the team like? You know, how are their, you know, do you have any tidbits about maybe what they specialize in? You know, do we have a front end and a dev, like
Yeah.
a back end dev? Do we have, um, you know, do we have a QA? You know, these different, just depending on your job, obviously, completely different what you're
Yeah,
asking. But
sometimes you're working with a team. I believe, Grady, that's kind of your environment.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're in the center of the wheel and you support a handful of teams.
Mhm.
It can be very different. I do want to point out though, you know, I don't know how far along your list are. We probably need to save some of this for part two if we're gonna have a part two of this. And we probably are getting close to the point where we want to pick out a raid, right?
Yeah, I would say I probably have 5 minutes left because we're really getting to the
Oh, you
end.
know, we can just we can.
Yeah, we'll just push through it.
Yeah,
I
that's
would say
totally fine.
maybe we'll go a couple minutes over, but
I
not.
thought maybe we had a bunch. I was trying to get us a part one, part two. We can, but yeah, we got 5 more
No,
minutes. Let's do it.
don't make me do a part two because I'm gonna have to spread out this 5 minutes into into an hour. Um, no, yeah. So we're at the point now. You ask the company anything you want. Make it stuff that's worthwhile though. Don't just ask them questions because it's good to have a question, which it is. You should have questions, but don't have the
Yeah.
questions just to have them. Make them worth it. Make
Right.
it something you're actually going to get use out of. And you know, a lot of times questions are culture. You know, what's the schedule like here? What's holidays? Do you guys get breaks during the day? Like, you know, just casual wondering about the job that you at that point are wanting. So, um, what were you asking, Lee?
Oh, I was. So you were talking about asking about the team members. So I put some questions in there from my questions for job interviews resource. There are 3 questions that I have in there about asking about team members.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Except it looks like I cut off one of the questions, so that's
Oh,
cool. Let me
there's
try
yeah,
that
there's
again.
a character limit on Twitch.
Ah,
It keeps it from people spamming big long paragraphs. But yeah,
STR.
okay.
as you are, yes. I didn't think it'd cut off mods, but I guess it's just a whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely anything you can have that could provide value regarding the team is, again, I don't want to call it a trick because it's not being a negative connotation to trick, but it's solidifying yourself of saying, yeah, you know, if you see me working here, who am I working with?
Yeah.
And in their head, they have no choice but to say, well, the team you'd be on, and they'd put you on that team in their head. Well, guess what? That just gave you a little leg up because now they see you as possible team member as opposed to just an interview.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, we'll kind of wind this down here. So you do that. you have all the questions that you feel are pertinent, and we can actually throw some questions and stuff in the Discord for after for up this week too, just to as we come up with different tidbits. So you're gonna leave there, and they'll usually give you some kind of, you'll hear from us 2 to 3 days, or maybe they won't even give you a time frame. They might just say, well, you'll hear from us. A good employer,
You may hear from us.
you may, yeah. See, a good interviewer calls every single person, whether they get hired or not. Whether
Or
it
someone at
gives-
the company.
yeah,
right?
yeah, or an email or something. You get some kind of communication saying, "Sorry, thank you for applying. It's not going to work out this time," or "Congratulations, you got the job." Usually, it's "Congratulations, step 2 of interview." So there's
Right.
some companies have multiple steps. Mine had 6 in this last one, and it was programming tests and one-on-one programming like we are right now in a group, but me programming and them watching. That was fun.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Oh my god, it's nerve-wracking. So make sure you know their next steps though. So if they say, "Hey, we'll hear from you," or "We'll call you," or "You'll hear from us," you should follow up with asking them what their interview process is. Saying, "Oh, okay, well, this is obviously step 1 of an interview process. What does your interview process look like?" Then you get a whole timeline, and you don't have to be waiting for the next step and thinking, "Oh
Right.
man, they didn't call me today. Is it gonna be 5 days from now? Or did they not hire me?" My company said, "Yeah, you're gonna hear from us by Friday. Second step, you're gonna do this. It takes 2 days after that. You'll hear from us 2 days." And like they had a whole schedule. So anytime something
Wow.
wasn't met, I would call them. And it did. One of them went like 3 days and it was supposed to be a day. Of course, my head's blowing up because I'm like, I'm not getting this job. I'm terrible at life. And I called them
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh my God, we're so sorry. They had, I forgot what was going on at that time, but it was something with COVID and the mask mandate got kicked back on and there was all kinds of stuff going on. And like we had to reroute a bunch of stuff because we had people coming in, and I'm like, "Oh, you're fine." But I knew that I should have been hearing at this point. I didn't, so I called them, got the interview process rolling again, because I knew their process.
Yeah.
If you didn't, you might just drop off their radar and not get a job. It's like, okay, well. So once you do that, you notice, the process. You get to the end of it, and you get that awesome little phone call saying, "We want you to work here." So
Yay.
the very
Yeah.
last step
Hey.
of this is, okay, that's great. I love your company. I've done my research, obviously, like we said earlier. What am I getting paid? I don't work for free. Whether I love the company or not, I need to get paid. So they'll come up. They'll give you usually they give you the first offer. Sometimes they'll say, "Well, what are you expecting to get paid?" Or "What do you have a range?" Those are kind of dangerous territories to walk on when you have self-doubts, because someone says, "Well, what are you looking for?" And you give a number, and in their head they're like, "Oh, we were thinking 20 grand more, but okay." So it makes them almost doubt you as well, not knowing your worth. So definitely use salary.com, Glassdoor, find out what the company currently pays, find out what your average salary is for your position. Just for us, in St. Louis or Missouri, what's the average salary for a software engineer? So you don't have that stuff preloaded. And then, they'll give you a number, and never be afraid. And I almost say always make sure to rebuttal with a different number. And that's something that people have debated about as well. But if someone gives me an offer, I feel like even if it's a fair offer, that there's no problem asking for $5,000 more. If they say no, well, you've still got a fair offer. Cool. If they say yes, you got $5,000 more. Usually, what happens is they meet you in the middle and say, "Hey, I will give you $2,000 more. Is that cool?" And you're like, "Yeah, we're good."
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do the same thing with PTO, time off. A lot of companies would rather give you an extra week of vacation than an extra $2,000 or whatever you're asking for, which is a nice middle ground as well. So keep that in mind that everything is negotiable. And if it's not, you're probably at the wrong company. Because, for me, an extra week of vacation, I value more than another $3,000 because I have a family. That's my goal in life, is to work so that I have more freedom. Well, extra week of work is literally an extra week of freedom, or no work is an extra week of freedom. So
Yeah. Yeah. And some places will be, um, they'll be more likely to give you a few days of extra time off than $5,000 you just asked for.
oh yeah.
And if they come back and say no to the 5,000, you could always ask, okay, so I mean, depending on where you're at, but could I have an additional 5 days of PTO, or even just ask for 2 days? Say, can I have an additional
Yeah.
2 days of PTO in lieu of the $5,000?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 days is not much. I mean, surely they could budge on that. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I found out that they give PTO easier because they get budget ranges for like a software engineer. They say you can hire a software engineer for this amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, then when they offer that amount of money and then someone comes back and's like, it's not quite what I want, maybe a little more, it's easier for them to be like, okay, we spent that amount of money. You also got an extra week of vacation, but that wasn't really in the budget you gave us, so it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there are lots of different pieces of the conversation. Like this particular part, the negotiation, but during and after interviews is another significant stream that we could have for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this in general, interviewing and the process and all this could be probably 15 streams. This could be an old career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just we'll close up with some of the don'ts. Or I actually, let me finish off with one. One more do is once you get that acceptance letter and you finalize your salary, you get that letter that says, "I'm hiring you for this much money, this much PTO. Good job." Don't end it there and think you're good. You still want to maintain your professional mentality, and finish your entire process with a thank you letter back to the interviewer. And it will, at that point, they know you're not trying to just butter them up because you got the job. At that point, you're actually showing your true self of being a professional. And a professional world says, you just did something really good for me. Here's a thank you letter. If anything, saying an email saying thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
If someone helps me with servers, I'm like, I really appreciate that last night. That was a pain. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a common courtesy thing.
Yeah. So your first step into this company that they see of you is a thank you letter from the resume, which I feel like goes a long way. What's Strenuous asking? Curious, stay local, Midwest, but with a reduced salary, or take a remote position that pays more but still affordable to an East West Coast company when it comes to salary.
Are you asking what we would do? Curious if we would stay local or
yeah. So I would.
My thought about that is
Go ahead.
It depends on whether you want the freedom that being remote offers.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, and I make no secret about this, so people who would watch this later, including my current employer, someday I want to live in Charleston, South Carolina. So if you someday want to move somewhere where you've vacationed or whatever, and you're potentially approaching that point, the remote job's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because, but if that's not important to you where you're at, then maybe maybe you don't care.
So for me, I want to zoom in a particular the wording that they use, that strenuous, or should I call you Mr. Fool?
The fool.
For the fool, says, so stay local, but with a reduced salary. So as usual, I want to challenge that. My salary is my salary. I am local. If another company, whether local or not, offers more money and I'm looking to move, then I can move. So I don't feel that my salary is a reduced salary. I do recognize the fact that there's certain places, Silicon Valley or whatever,
Well, yeah.
where if I got a job there, I'd be making more money. But I mean, if I wanted to work for one of the FANG companies, or if I wanted to work for another company, I would just apply there, right?
Yeah.
So I don't feel that I'm working at a reduced salary for the honor of working in the Midwest. I know that it's a very remote environment right now. And if it was important to me to work for another company, I would work for another company.
And
hopefully that answered the question.
And yeah, and I would say my take on that would be similar to yours, Anthony. That I don't know if you guys ever read the study that came out, but they said that there's a certain salary you get to where more salary doesn't equal happier life.
So $70,000 is that magic number.
70,000, exactly.
I'm not saying I completely agree with it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I would say it's probably around our area, closer to 80, 90.
Thanks, Mr. Fool. He says 75.
75. Okay. So I think and it depends on your lifestyle, but
Sure.
for me, I would say for me, it was about 75. And so therefore, any company I look at, whether it's remote or not, I'm not taking less money. So
right.
I'm looking for, again, my own personal goals is more freedom. So whatever company I go to, I honestly don't take salary into as much consideration at this point. I'm looking for a company that'll help me grow as an individual, as a developer, and allow me to have more freedoms.
Yeah.
If they say we're going to give you $1,000 more in your other company that you're working at, but they have a checklist of stuff that I'm looking for, I'd be like, all right, cool. Like, that's fine with me. That's kind of what happened to me. But
at a certain point, you're having a conversation, and I've had this literal conversation. How much money is worth me going from a place that I like? Now, not everyone watching this may like where they work. But if you do, if you're comfortable there and you like, how much money will it cost for me to leave a place that I am currently enjoying working at, and risk going somewhere else that I may not like, or may not work for me, or may not be family with my family situation, or we keep talking about people being at different frequencies, right? Wavelengths. I say that a lot. At a certain point, I've worked somewhere long enough where they get my idiosyncrasies, and they understand how I handle my schedule and how I do things. And when they get that and it's not a problem for them, how much is that worth? $20,000? Maybe. I'll let you be the judge of that, what that is to you. But
Anthony's frozen like this.
Oh, yeah. I am. Oh no. You guys can hear me though, right?
Yeah, we heard it all.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, let me
all right.
Let me finish off here with a couple don'ts, and then my whole spiel's done. But we went over don't falsify anything. That's seems like a common sense, but a lot of people falsify things on their interviews. So don't do that. Don't give off the sense that you're super needy for a job. You don't want to look like you're desperate and that you'll just take anything, because then they're like, well, if you're just trying to take anything, this isn't the job for you. Like we want someone that's focused.
Even if you are, don't come across that way.
And then a couple other basics, like don't chew gum. I wish that I didn't have to say that, but don't show up to an interview chewing gum, whether it's in person or on on virtual. I would
Yeah.
say grab some mints, an Altoid, something like that before the interview. But nothing should be in your mouth during the interview. And same with smoking. If you're a smoker, don't smoke right before you go in. I know that as a semi-smoker, when I drink, and a previous smoker, when you get nervous, that's when you want that cigarette. And when you're about to go into an interview, it's very appealing to be like, let me just smoke the cigarette. I'm gonna go to the interview. But if you walk in
Or
smelling like a cigarette, not
or
a
if
good
you're a
call.
stress eater like me, same thing. You gotta resist eating and drinking right before the interview. It's not.
Yeah, don't drink
Bueno.
caffeine or coffee before an interview for two reasons.
Or-
One, it'll give you more jittery.
yeah,
Two, you may have to use the restroom because we all know how
yeah,
coffee works. So
and stay away from mom's spaghetti.
stay away from mom's spaghetti. And then obviously, lastly, I'm going to finish with cell phones. There's two types of impressions on this. Either leave it in your car, or turn it as silent as possible. Me having, my wife and kid, I always have it on me, even when I'm in an interview, and I tell them, "Hey, I have my phone on me. It's over here. It's on silent. Just give you a heads up." Um,
Yeah, if you have an issue,
you
you're
know,
a family member, just
yeah,
just say it. Just
again,
tell everybody. Yeah,
and that's for me. That's my personal center is my family. So if you can't accept the fact that my cell phone's sitting right here in case there's an emergency, well, then I don't want to work here because
right.
that's the wrong kind of company. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then but again, if you don't have real emergencies or anything that, needs to be immediate, don't bring your phone in at all. But yeah.
I personally turn mine off in those kinds of situations. It reduces the chances something will accidentally happen, like
Yeah.
the ring.
I usually,
Right.
It would be touching the chair or something to vibrate, and everything will be really loud. Or
oh no, I put mine right on the table.
Mhm.
I open up to the lock screen, and it just stays just the time, but I just throw it on the table, and I let them know. I'm like, hey, I just have my phone out in case my wife needs anything with the kid. And never once has anybody ever said, well, I don't know about that. Because if they did, I'd been like, okay, I'm out of here. But yeah, so I mean that's pretty much the main spiel there. Main takeaways, be respectful to everybody, not just during the interview process, but just life is rough right now for a lot of people. There's people interviewing you. You don't know how their day was. You don't know if the receptionist at the front desk, their mom might have just died from COVID and she just got back to work. You're gonna be that asshole that walks up and gives her a hard time. Don't be that person.
Yeah,
And that's just a general rule. I feel like in life, just be nicer. And yeah, body language and stuff. That's all personal preference, at least in my opinion. So just kind of be yourself, but have that active listening, and I feel like it goes a long way. So yeah,
I definitely appreciate you bringing some thoughts, Grady, about IT interviewing and how to be prepared, things to do, things not to do, and so appreciate the conversation tonight.
Yeah, we didn't kill it too
yeah,
bad.
good
We
stuff.
went about 15 over, so
You gonna
not.
send us somewhere?
I am. I'm looking now where we want to be sent to. Helps if I have Twitch pulled up.
While you're doing that, I'll remind everybody. So we have a YouTube channel. Already said data. Also, feel free if you haven't already, check us out on the Discord, and we're on Twitter. So I'll add that to the chat.
All right, and stick around for the raid. We're gonna go raid Brofish again. Her husband is getting in to Canada today. They haven't seen each other in a couple months, so she's doing a stream right now before she has to go get him from the airport. So we'll drop in there, say hi, and we will catch everybody next week.
All
I
right.
as far as I know, we're still doing 23rd. If anything changes, go follow our Twitters. You will see it. So, all right. And I'm going to send everybody over as soon as this is ready. All right. I will see everybody next week.
Bye,
See ya.
everybody.
Bye.